Hello everyone, my name is Malte, I paint miniatures for a living, and today I'm doing something a little bit different. I'm teaching my girlfriend Julie
Hi.
how to paint her very first miniature using oil paints.
Wow, I feel like oil painting is actually more beginner friendly. Oh, I like this better than acrylics, I must say.
She's never used oils before, so what you're about to see is a real beginner's experience, first time with the medium. We're going to be looking at mixing the colors and of course painting the miniature, making a few mistakes along the way, and figuring things out together. By the end of this video, you'll not only get to see the miniature that Julia has painted, but you'll also get a crash course in oil painting, what oil paints are, how they work, why it's more forgiving, easier to paint smooth blends, and honestly kind of addictive once you try it. And if you want to take it even further, I've put together a free ebook with all of the tips, tricks, and materials that we discussed in this video, plus a few extra bonus things. You can get that totally for free right down in the link in the description, and it really goes hand in hand with the stuff we'll cover in this video. Without further ado, let's dive into it. To get started with oil paints, all you'll need is a miniature that you painted, maybe already the base layer with acrylics. And the reason for this is that the oils themselves are like a little bit transparent. So they need a color underneath to gain full opacity. Does that make sense?
Yes, so a color that matches the color you want to paint with oil painting.
Yeah, or something that's just roughly the same level of brightness. It helps for the oils to hold on to the surface, that it's a matte surface and not a satin one.
Mm-hmm.
So here I've prepared a palette of some very basic colors. We have over here titanium white and chromatic black, naphtha red, ultramarine blue, my favorite yellow, which is Indian yellow, and then we have two brown colors. One is transparent red oxide and the other is burnt umber. So this is a very basic, limited palette of paints. If you're just starting out with oils, you want to try to limit yourself and just have as few paints available as possible. Because the more paints you add in, the more difficult things get to manage. Because you have to think of these paints as sort of like spices. So you have to know how strong the spice is when you add it to the food, right? Because there are some paints where if you add just a tiny bit of it, everything just turns violet. If you add just a little bit of violet, that can make everything turn totally violet. Also over here on the palette, you'll see we have a little bit of this clear stuff. This is something called liquid original. And this is a medium. So what that means is that this is something we'll add to the paints to make sure that everything dries very evenly. So one of the things that keep, I think, a lot of people away from oil painting is that they're afraid of the very long drying time. And by adding just a little bit of liquid, we kind of take away some of that guessability, because just like the paints have different strength in staining the mixtures, they also have different drying times. So some of these really strong paints, like the violet I mentioned, also takes a super long time to dry.
So they have different drying times.
Yeah.
Depending on if you choose red or blue or...
Yeah, okay. And so when you add them all together, it can be really hard to know how long is it going to take for this or this color to dry. It also depends on how thick the layer is. So this naphtha red, for instance, is a very quick drying color. So when we mix these together, it means that it can be dry within a few hours.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah. So you don't need liquid to start oil painting. It's not essential. A lot of people don't like to use it. I like to use it, and so I put it on the palette. And also some of this stuff. This is odorless white spirit artist quality. So that means that this is what we'll use to thin the paints and clean the brushes afterwards. But this is not water. Okay, very important. If you're coming from acrylic, you'll have the ingrained habit of taking some paint, putting it on the model, and then putting the brush into the water. That's not how we use it. We use this very sparingly. We use it a little bit in the beginning and then in the end to clean the brushes. That's it. You'll also need a whole lot of brushes. So you see here we have all of these brushes here, and most of them are just old brushes that I've used when painting with acrylics, and then they've lost their tip and now they're delegated to being oil painting brushes. So because the paint doesn't dry on the brush, we can take some paint, and then when we want to apply a different color, we just grab a new brush for the new color, so that when we go back to the first color, we have the old brush and use that.
And why is it that they're good for oil painting now that they don't have a tip anymore?
It's because you want some softer brushes for oil painting.
Okay.
So you can kind of think of it like if you were to put some butter on a piece of bread, right? you would take.
I love the food analogy.
Yes, yeah, but it's very much like this.
I can relate now.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's very much like this, where maybe you have a butter knife that you take the butter and put it on the bread, but then you have to pass the butter on to the next person. So you take your own knife and scrape it over the bread. That's the idea.
Okay.
Right? So you have brushes that apply paint, and then you have brushes that mix or blend the paint together.
Well,
Okay.
I love the look of the oil painting.
Mhm.
It's so smooth and shiny and
Yeah.
almost like buttery
Yeah.
kind of.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
makes me want to paint when I see oil painting.
Yes. There's something alluring about them for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Usually, most people with miniatures, they paint what's called like alla prima, which means that it's wet and wet. So we do almost all of the painting in one session, blending wet paint into wet paint. Afterwards, if you then want to increase, let's say the blue will fade a little bit, because once it dries, you can see that it's transparent, it's not opaque, and then the blue will lose a little bit of its vibrancy and saturation. Want to then increase that, we can do that in a second layer.
Okay.
But we do like 80 to 90% of the work in the first layer.
Yeah. I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
You say oil paints are like both slower at drying.
Yeah.
And it's harder to get the full coverage. So
Mhm.
what is the advantage of oil painting?
Yeah, it's a good question.
Sorry if that's
Not at all. It's very legit, because the advantage to oil paints is that they have qualities that acrylic paints really don't have.
okay.
So one of the things we really like in miniature painting is smooth blends, right? And this is something that's very, very hard to achieve with paints that dry very quickly. Whereas with oils, you can get very smooth blends incredibly easily. Okay?
Motivated.
You're motivated. Okay.
Yeah, I'm motivated.
Great. So let me show you how it works. Here I have just a little bit of the thinner. So the color mixing can get a little bit complicated when you're new to doing this, but this is why I included this transparent red oxide color, because I just want to show you that you can very easily create a skin tone if you take some of the transparent red oxide and mix it with some of the white. So here we can very easily. Now I'm just using sort of this knife to mix the paints together. And so like this, we can have a nice base for our skin tone mixes. Okay? So we could also then, if we wanted to go even brighter, of course, add a little bit more white. Maybe we'll add a touch of the yellow, so you can see almost no yellow, because this yellow is very strong.
Okay. Wow.
See how much that affects it?
You took like a tiny.
Yeah, I just touched it and now everything is yellow. So Indian yellow, very, very strong. But we can see now we have beautiful skin tones in here. If we then also want to create some shadows for the skin, we might take a little bit of this burnt umber. Okay, so first thing, again sticking with the food analogies here. First thing we want to do when we cook, we don't want to add, okay, maybe sometimes you do that in cooking, but let's just say that you don't add spices to a dry pan.
That's
right?
true.
First you want, maybe a lot of people do that in cooking. There's actually very specific.
Get the most out of it.
Yeah, okay.
Spice.
So let's just imagine we live in a world where you don't do that. So, if you're enjoying this video and want to dive even deeper into oil painting, or maybe you're just looking for some personal guidance in your miniature painting journey, I want to invite you to come join me on my Patreon, where I share tons of exclusive video lessons, live feedback sessions, where we have an awesome community of painters all supporting each other in our artistic journey. So if you're serious about finally improving your painting, please come join me in the community over on Patreon. It also has the added benefit of allowing me to make more videos just like the one you're watching right now. All right, let's get back to the painting. We need a little bit of oil, a little bit of thinner in this case. So, very worn out brush. This one has been through a lot. So I will take like a very old brush and then dip it in the thinner. We don't need a lot of it. And then I will pick like a shadow color for the skin.
Mm-hmm.
So now we can use the darkest mix we've just created. So here it grabs some of that and then I thin it down.
Oh.
So you can see it becomes kind of a little bit watery, but it's like maybe just because I know I want to add a little bit more blue, because I know this blue is going to fade when it dries. So I'm not afraid to put a little bit more blue in here. Okay. To like give us a foundation where we can mix the paint into something wet. Grab one of these like makeup sponges and then I'll wipe most of it off again. Very difficult thing to adjust to when painting with oil paints compared to when you're coming from acrylics is that you're used to working with layers in acrylics. So you're used to taking one step at a time and then slowly getting to the point where you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
Here you have to kind of imagine the end point at the beginning, because you're not working with layers, you're instead putting the colors where you want them to be ultimately. So on this point here, just under the shoulder, I know I want like a little bit of a highlight on top of the shoulder, but this down here should be slightly not as bright. So I'll take some of this red mixture here, put that in there. Same goes for up here. And maybe also back here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm done with this brush.
Okay.
Because I'll just use this brush for the red color. I'll grab a new brush for the next colors. So.
And why is that? Why not like mix it already now?
Because I want
blend it.
to put more paint on the model before I mix it.
Okay.
Because I can very quickly get to the point where it's finished.
Yeah.
So I don't need to like mix and then apply, mix and apply, mix and apply. I can just apply all the stuff, mix it, and then it's done.
Okay.
This way I don't have to go back and forth so much. So now I think the red takes up a lot of space. So even in that border area between our blue color and the red color, I will take a little bit of this like greenish brown. So can you see now we have 3 different colors in there?
Yeah.
Maybe we also want to apply that to some of the back here. So I'm kind of imagining where I want the final, like I'm imagining the end point of what I want the model to look like.
Yeah.
Because I can just go there pretty much straight away with the oils. So now
so you just sketch it all in and then
I just sketch it.
You just
exactly
it together.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So here, now we're looking at, it's not our brightest tone, but it's our next to our brightest tone, right? So we want to paint now some of the more raised areas up here.
Yeah, because that's higher.
That's up higher and
shoulder.
Exactly, and then we'll catch more of the light up here.
Okay, that's a very different way of painting then.
It is so different.
Not that I'm very experienced in acrylics.
No, but actually,
I have been forced.
You have been
once or twice. No, didn't mean that.
I have been forced more than once.
No, I volunteered. I will admit it.
But actually, not having a ton of experience with acrylics is a good thing because you have to unlearn some of these habits.
Yeah.
So now we've added a little bit more of the brighter tone. Now adding this brighter tone, we compare it to what we have over here, and I think that the red takes up a little bit too much space. So I'll just try to put some of the brighter tone on top of the red. Just to like make it a little more discreet, okay?
Okay.
So now a new brush again because we're switching colors. Now I want to take the final highlight and put that on top of here. So I will take now a clean brush, and this has to be a soft brush. I like a soft brush for this.
Mm-hmm.
No thinner, no nothing on it, just a dry brush. And then I will just come in and like gently dab on the surface. So I try to wipe it off on a paper towel to keep it relatively clean. I don't want to carry like paints from one area over to another area. And just like maybe let's say 30 seconds, a minute, we have like a nice varied tone for the skin.
Right.
Okay, on the shoulder.
Like, would you keep doing this for longer?
No, this is done now.
Okay.
The shoulder is done, so now I would do it everywhere else. And that's your job.
Okay.
Okay? So now I would take the blending brush, one of these two, and try to stipple things into each other, and make sure to wipe off the brush when it gets dirty on the paper towel.
Wow, it's easy blending and
It's so easy.
very easy.
Yeah. So you get these smooth gradients that otherwise take a lot of time with the acrylics. You can
Right.
see how that's the benefit of this now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
now I get it. Yeah, okay. Wow, I feel like oil painting is actually more beginner friendly.
Yes.
And he didn't tell me to say this, but
Yes, exactly.
I have struggled a lot with acrylics, with
Yes.
blending it out.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a long process.
Yeah, it
This
takes
is
forever.
very,
So what I will say is that this part here, from the shadow into the midtones, looks fantastic. Right?
Yep.
Would you agree? Like this
I
is
agree.
super nice. If
yeah.
the whole skin was like this, I'd be very happy.
Mm,
It gets a little bit grainy up
Yeah.
here.
it does.
And that's because you put like
Too much paint?
too much paint, yeah. So what you can do is just blend things out a little bit more with the blending brush.
It's so different that it doesn't dry.
Yep.
So you can move it around a
Yep.
lot and like keep working with it. That's
Exactly.
nice. Oh, I like this better than acrylics, I must say.
Happy to hear it. So having now tried painting with oils, how did you find it compared to your experience with the acrylics?
Really great, actually. Yeah, I liked it a lot better than acrylics. I liked that it was. I feel like it went faster to get it good looking. So that was kind of like motivating for me to see that it pretty quickly looked like something I was happy with. It was easy to blend and easy to like move the colors around, because usually when I've tried the acrylics it like dries very fast and it doesn't look as smooth and like covered.
So this is what a like complete beginner painter was able to paint in just under 2 hours with the oil paints here in the studio. So you can see it's really a wonderful medium. I hope you'll want to check it out for yourself. The oil paints are a great fun and really versatile medium. You can do a lot of things. While you work on that, I just want to say thank you guys so much for watching. If you're interested in learning more about oil paints, I have tons of useful videos on my Patreon. If you'd like to have a day of private coaching like what you've seen in this video, you can contact me through the links down in the description. Thank you so much, you guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.